Hello and welcome back to the Jet Press Podcast. My name is Justin Fried, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Mike Luciano. Mike, the Jets are 0-4, and today we're going to try and fix them. We're going to try and figure out what is wrong with this godforsaken franchise, and we're going to do everything we can to offer some changes that might be able to be made, either personnel decisions or roster decisions or schematic stuff. We're going to break it all down. Mike, how are you feeling today? Is your mic okay? I see you.
It is okay. I'm just fiddling with the sensitivity a little bit.
All right, buddy.
The Jets are 0-4. The season is pretty much over in terms of hopes for the playoffs. All we can hope for now is the young players develop, that maybe Justin Fields shows a little bit more, and that Aaron Glenn shows signs that he can turn it around because he's going to get another year. We just need to see if that year is going to begin with some optimism or if it's just going to be...
I don't know if everyone would agree that he's going to get another year. I certainly do.
But imagine the coach they're going to hire if they fire Aaron Glenn.
That's been my point, because there's been a lot of conversations about like, oh, he's going to be one and done. Like he would if they like. I said this on Twitter. If Aaron Glenn, like the Jets could go 1-16, and I don't think they fire Aaron Glenn.
Imagine if they do that and then they hire like Arthur Smith. Imagine what this fan base would do.
I mean, that's kind of realistic. If they fire Aaron Glenn, you could forget getting any kind of potential like top candidates, you know.
So let's get into a couple quick comments before we do our little spiel beforehand. Brian Sternbeck re-signed Joe Namath, TBD, profit in terms of the steps to fix the team.
I'll tell you what TBD is. I'll tell you what step 2 is. I don't think Joe Namath is going to like the answer though.
I think he may be he may join the choir invisible before this team becomes good again. JJ, D-line sucks, corners suck, linebackers suck, and safety suck.
Hell yeah.
Pretty much. Outside of one player in each of those units.
Hell yeah, brother. You're not entirely wrong.
And JJ still can't get over that fair catch at the 2-yard line. Neither can I.
How's Isaiah Williams still on this team right now, man?
I have no idea. Kenny Nwangwu, please say. We're begging for Kenny Nwangwu all of a sudden.
Dude, legitimately, Kenny Nwangwu and Jermaine Johnson both day to day, like two of the most important players in the roster. And I think the last couple of weeks have shown that.
So we'll try and fix this team. Thank you for joining us. You can find us on Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. You can also find us on YouTube where you can subscribe. You can like the stream. Those really do help support the show. You can hit that little button so you get notifications when we go live. And I just found this out. If you have enough subscribers, there's a hype feature where a day after a stream goes live, you can actually like send video. You can basically tell YouTube, hey, we really like this video, and send it hype points, and it gets hype points. In some way, I've been told it's good.
We should know this. I feel like we should be the experts here.
Yeah, so I have no idea how that works, but it seems to me like it's good. So if you have the ability to do that, and let's just get on with fixing the Jets. Let's
fix this team.
Let's get into some changes. Changes. Turn and face the strange. Changes.
Okay. All right.
Hey, we're 0-4. I can sing David Bowie if I want to.
What about Changes by Tupac?
I was gonna pantomime it like Shadur Sanders did, just fake not talking for. Imagine if he was on the Jets and he did that. And
I don't think that. Not that it works in a press conference, but I think it works even less in podcast format.
So unless you're watching on YouTube, the audio people are like, "What's going on?" So let's get into some changes. Stuff that is not philosophical, stuff that's not crazy huge, but stuff that's tangible. And it may not make them a playoff team, but it will make them at least better. Because I don't think they're not an unwatchable team. I think they're a watchable team. They're in a lot of games, except for Buffalo. But
there's been times when they've been unwatchable. But
the first quarter against the Dolphins and Buffalo. So let's just get into the easiest one that I think they can make in terms of just how easy it'll be to slide it right in and out. I believe that when he's healthy, as OG Jets fan, 1985 has now been a member for 3 months. Thank you,
man. So much appreciated.
Thank you for that. I think that when he is healthy, this player is healthy. I think that no matter what the depth chart looks like, Jarvis Brownlee should start at nickel cornerback, and Michael Carter Jr., Michael Carter II, I guess technically, should never see the field unless of injury, because Carter, one of two things has happened with Michael Carter. He is either A, in his own head to a crazy degree and can't do anything right, or B, washed. I hope it's not washed, but he's certainly looking washed. The coverage skills, gone. The tackling was never like a huge strength of his. He was always an okay tackler, but never like an amazing Pat Surtain level open field tackler for a cornerback. He's now, forget below average. I mean, it's Will McDonald run defense levels of bad right now. Can't cover anybody. I mean, how many times in that Dolphins game they just find Tyreek, get him on Michael Carter, catch, first down. And there were times where Carter was assigned to guard Tyreek. When he caught the ball, I mean, he wasn't even on the screen sometimes. Like, it was just not good.
Mm-hmm.
Brownlee is, again, not going to be transformative. He has penalty problems, which this team has a lot of penalty problems right now, and Jason Brownlee is probably not going to help in that regard. But you immediately get a very good tackler. You get a guy who's motivated because the crappy Titans gave up on him. And you get a guy that I think has been played out of position for his whole career. He's been outside of Louisville, outside of Tennessee. This is a move where fixing the defense is, I think, a bigger priority because the offense is not amazing, but you could win a lot of games playing the level of offense the Jets have played in the first 4 games of the year. I don't think that's the bigger problem of the two units. I think the defense is the bigger one, and I think a very immediate fix is putting Jason Brownlee in.
Yeah,
Jarvis Brownlee. Jason Brownlee is on the Chiefs as a wide receiver.
Yes.
Jarvis Brownlee.
I believe there's been 2 Jay Brownlees to play in the NFL, and both of them will soon have played for the Jets, assuming that Jarvis Brownlee is able to suit up, hopefully as soon as this week. I agree with all of that. I agree with, one, the greater point of, yes, Jarvis Brownlee should be playing over Michael Carter. And I also agree with the point that the offense isn't really the biggest issue with the Jets. Their biggest issue right now, the defense is definitely part of it. The other part has just been turnovers. And, as JJ said in chat, we're beating ourselves pretty much. And as Maxwell said, I believe this is quoting Aaron Glenn. I think it was Aaron Glenn who said that, right? He said, we're can I say that on YouTube? It was an Aaron Glenn quote. He said, we're killing ourselves. Can I say that? I could say that.
Breece Hall said we were shooting ourselves in the head. I mean,
that was the other one.
Oh, that's TOS friendly.
Absolutely legendary quote after the game. Breece Hall saying that, other teams, we'll shoot ourselves in the foot and then we come back.
JJ also says offense has been fine despite the Buffalo game.
Yeah, outside of the Buffalo game, I don't think the Jets have had an issue moving the ball. The issue has been they've fallen behind early and the game flow has not favored them because of that. And they've fallen behind early because the defense stinks and because of the turnovers and penalties. But yeah, as far as Jarvis Brownlee goes, yes, they traded for him for a reason. And when that trade was made, I know the initial reaction was, oh, he's played a lot of outside corner in Tennessee. He's played a lot of outside corner back at Louisville. He's probably going to be someone that is maybe potentially replacing Brandon Stevens. But I think Stevens has quietly played pretty well these last 2 weeks, which we might talk about in a bit when we get to that stats segment. I don't think this is a Brandon Stevens move. I believe this is probably a Michael Carter move. And it really sucks because there was a time 2 years ago where Michael Carter was arguably the best nickel corner in the league. Like the
Jets had the best cornerback trio in the league with him, Sauce, and DJ Reed, who's looking very good in Detroit right now.
2023, Carter had the highest PFF coverage grade among all slot corners, allowed the fewest yards allowed in slot coverage, fewest receptions allowed in slot coverage, and the fewest yards allowed per coverage snap.
And now he can't play.
And now 2 years later, I don't want to say washed because he's 26 years old, but it does feel like the injuries have kind of broken his body down a little bit. He had the back injury all of last year, and he played poorly in
and he's a smaller guy too. So
he's a smaller guy playing a nickel position, which is very taxing on your body. Like he's involved in a lot of plays down near the line of scrimmage. His body is taking a beating. So it's just unfortunate to see what's happened. But this year he has been, I hate to say the word unplayable again, but he has been as close to unplayable as you're going to get. And I know Stevens has kind of been the lightning rod for a lot of that criticism, as has Tony Adams.
Stevens has been better than Carter this year.
Yes, and Tony Adams has been a lightning rod as well. And I don't know they've both been horrible. I'm not going to say Tony Adams is better than Michael Carter.
Crap sandwich or crap sandwich with mustard.
Right, exactly. But Michael Carter this year, 35.9 PFF coverage grade, which is ranked 88th out of 89 qualified corners. The only cornerback worse is Xavier Howard, the ghost of Xavier Howard, who is still kicking
retired
around
for a while.
Right, who's still kicking around in the NFL somehow. Not only hopefully would the coverage improve with Brownlee, which that's not necessarily his rep coming out of Tennessee. It's not like he's this shutdown elite cover corner, but he's going to bring you physicality. And that is something that this Jets defense desperately needs. When they made that trade for Brownlee, the one thing that jumped out to me when I was watching some of his tape back was this, not only does this guy hit, he blows up screens. And man, the Jets have gotten torched on those screens this year because their corners outside of Brandon Stevens can't tackle and their safeties can't tackle either. So getting another guy in that secondary who's going to bring that physicality, who's a willing and aggressive tackler and is going to be able to blow up screens and blow up plays behind the line of scrimmage. That is, I think, the biggest difference you're going to notice between Michael Carter and Jarvis Brownlee. Now, Carter is likely going to miss this week because he's got the concussion. Brownlee is still dealing with that ankle injury. We'll see what his status is as the week progresses. If he can't play this week, then I don't know. Maybe they throw Isaiah Oliver out there. Maybe Malachi Moore gets some snaps. But if he can play,
JJ says I'd like to see Thomas get more snaps at corner. That would obviously be outside corner. I don't.
Yeah,
think
you would need an
inside to accommodate that.
I would love it, but you just need an injury. Like I don't think I don't think they're moving Stevens to safety. I like we'll talk about this when we talk about Tony Adams. I'd rather just play Malachi Moore there rather than moving around Brandon Stevens. So I think it's played all right, but there's no reason why Brownlee, like even if Carter is back in a couple of weeks with that concussion, I think Brownlee should be starting over him or at least getting significant playing time in this defense because this secondary needs somebody with his exact skill set. And I don't think Carter is a good fit for this press man heavy scheme. I don't think he works in this defense.
Sam Shirazian. Sauce still can't tackle, highest paid corner in the league. All right, I'm going to be honest.
Has actually not been an issue this year. The coverage has.
Go look at all the great shutdown corners in the league in history. How many of them were also great tacklers?
Yeah.
Not to compare them to guys like Dion and stuff like that.
I had my Sauce rant on Sunday or on Monday night after the post game show. I don't need to do it again. But the Jets need more from Sauce Gardner. I actually think the tackling has not been a big issue this year.
He's just not all-time insanely good coverage-wise, which they need him to be. So.
Yes, they do. They need him to be the all-pro version of Sauce Gardner, and right now he's not. He's just not.
So, Dr. Fried, what is your prescription for fixing this?
My prescription. Ooh, what should we start with? I'm gonna go to the offense here. In fact, I think I have a couple of things with the offense. I want to talk about the quarterback position. I want to talk about Justin Fields because I've praised Tanner Engstrand a lot, and I think there's a lot of good things that Engstrand has done as a play caller in his first year with the Jets. But I think the one thing that he can place a bigger emphasis on moving forward is getting Justin Fields in a rhythm early on. Because as we saw in this past game against the Dolphins on Monday night, I thought Fields was horrific for 3 quarters of that game. And it wasn't until that final drive in the third quarter where he finally it clicked with him, but he was mentally a mess. And we made this comparison on Monday night when we were doing the post-game show, but it's similar to Zach Wilson when Wilson would get in his like mental fits, for lack of a better word, where, with Wilson, it kind of manifested itself in short arming throws and the ball accurate, the ball placement would be all over the place. His accuracy,
the feet
would be a mess. Like his footwork, everything would be a mess. Like you'd forget all the mechanics and he'd get in his own head.
I've still never seen announcers be so angry at a certain player. Watching Zach Wilson.
Yeah,
there have been worse quarterbacks, but I've never seen guys go, just throw it and hit the guy.
Right.
Quite like they have with Zach Wilson.
With Fields, it manifests itself differently. It manifests itself in the form of, I'm not going to throw the ball. I'm just scared to throw the ball. Like that's what happens with Fields. And we've seen that. We saw it against Tampa Bay. We saw it a little bit, in that Buffalo game. We saw it, I guess, a lot. Where he knows how good of an athlete he is. He knows he is one of the most dynamic athletes the quarterback position has ever seen at the NFL level. And that's not an exaggeration. And he knows he can take off and probably gain some yards here and there. And we saw it against Miami. He had that 40-plus yard touchdown run. And that's great. And that backyard football stuff will work sometimes because he is that good of an athlete. But he also needs to throw the ball. And they cannot get the Jets cannot survive as an offense with the quarterback play they got for the majority of the first 3 quarters of that Miami game. And so my solution that I would like to see the Jets employ is try and get the passing game going early on. I know that the goal for this offense is to run the ball, and they want to pound the ball and just
they can run the ball. They've shown they can.
That first Miami drive, it worked. Braylon Allen fumbled at the 1, but that should have resulted in a touchdown. And I know that, and I get that is your the backbone of this offense, but it clearly affects Justin Fields' psyche when he doesn't think his coaching staff trusts him to throw the ball. And even before we got to that final drive of the third quarter, like when he was even throwing the ball, it was either checkdowns, it was wobbly passes to the sideline, like that first pass to Breece Hall, like that last drive of the third quarter where it finally clicked. It was the little dig concept to Garrett Wilson where he found the soft spot in the zone coverage. That was the first pass I believe that Justin Fields even attempted in that game. That was not a check down or a designed quick read, like a quick out pass or something like that. Like that was an actual 3 to 5 step drop, wait for his receiver to get to his spot and throw it to him. Like that was the first time he'd attempted a pass like that in the entire game. And then I liked that Tanner Engstrand saw that and said, okay, we might have something here. He's finally in a rhythm. And he threw the ball on 3 consecutive plays. Those 3 plays were the Garrett Wilson pass, the like deep crosser over the middle to Mason Taylor, and then what should have been a Garrett Wilson touchdown, but it was nullified because of that bullshit offensive pass interference call. I like that Tanner Engstrand noticed that with Justin Fields, said, hey, we got a rhythm going here. Let's stick with it. Let's try and get that going earlier. Let's not do a 80% run plays over the first 3 drives because then Fields is going to get in his head. Let's give him early, short passes. Let's get the screen game involved. Let's give him quick passes that he can get his confidence going so we can open up the rest of this offense. That is a change I think I'd like to see Engstrand make moving forward.
JJ says it's hard to get the pass game going when our receivers are awful outside of Wilson. That is true.
But I'll tell you this. There are guys open. There are guys open on the – you watch back, they're all 22.
Engstrand is pretty good in terms of just like, let me draw up a play here really quick.
There are guys open. There was a chart going around. Arian Smith has had like a very high degree of separation. Like he has like 3 catches. That's not necessarily because he's not getting
like a negative 10-yard run.
Yeah, the quarterbacks aren't getting involved. And that went for Tyrod Taylor too, because Tyrod Taylor did the same thing in week 3. He was also just not throwing open receivers. On that pick 6, there were multiple receivers wide open. Instead, he threw a pick 6. Like that, it's the receiving core sucks, but I think Engstrand has done a good enough job of getting guys open. And you have, I think Mason Taylor is emerging as that viable number 2 option in the passing game that they needed. I don't think that's an excuse, especially against Miami, where it is.
And this week's opponent.
And Dallas, right. It is inexcusable that the Jets were unable to throw the ball for 3 quarters against Jack Jones and Rasul Douglas. Like, that is fucking ridiculous. That cannot be happening. And now facing a Dallas defense, which we'll talk about in a little bit, which is also really struggling to defend the pass. I don't think the excuse of, hey, where we have Tyler Johnson out there or Alan Lazard out there or Josh Reynolds, I don't think that excuse carries enough weight.
Justin Fields is a 3-point specialist in the NBA where he'll miss like 3, and you'll see all these guys. They'll miss like 4 or 5, and then they hit 1, and then they hit 4 or 5 in a row, and the percentage evens out. The difference with Fields is if he misses those first 3, he doesn't keep trying. Yeah. Until he's told to. Now, if he hits his first 2 Steelers game, you're like, all right, we got it. And he has this reputation, the running quarterback, great athlete. Ohio State, they barely ran with him. It was all deep crossers, chucking it. Like he was operating from the pocket. So they are kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't a little bit, because you have a guy who wants to operate from the pocket and drop. Like, I think he wants to do that, but mentally sometimes he's not always in the headspace to do that effectively.
You know what it is? He's just a slow processor. And it sucks because that's been the tape. That's been the rep on him coming out of Ohio State. It's still a case. Like you see him thinking through plays and you see him a step late on some of these throws or a step late to diagnose defenses. And that's why he ends up holding on to the ball forever. And that's why he second guesses himself. And that second guessing is why he's a slow processor. And it's just
now he can get out of it because he's a crazy athlete sometimes. Right. But Engstrand, again, like I'm watching Fields, and he's had some wobbly passes, but there are honestly fewer times than I thought where I'm watching him drop back and I'm like, all right, this guy is not throwing the ball effectively.
No,
like,
when he's actually throwing
ball placement's been good a lot. Absolutely. Arm strength is good. I've seen him make some tight window throws, some off-platform throws on the move. Like I see what it's supposed to look like. It happens so fleetingly, and they don't really know how to capture it yet. But they see it enough. Like you see it more than this is much better play than like a Zach Wilson with Mike LaFleur thing. It's like not even close. Yes. They just don't know how to get that consistency there.
Week 1, they got it. That's been the most encouraging takeaway for me, is that the ball placement has been good. Like I think his accuracy and ball placement as a general statement has been very good this year. Like, especially by his standards, where I thought that would be a bigger issue with the Jets. It hasn't been. It's really just been the decision-making. It's been the processing. It's been the mental stuff, the pre-snap stuff where he can't ID the mic. Like that's been the issue. But if you can get him to lock in, like if you can get it to at least figure out half of that stuff, the ball placement's been good. And I think they can lean on him in the passing game a little bit more early in games than they have to this point.
Like Fields, his EPA per play this year is about 19th, 20th. It's kind of what he was with the Steelers. I'm seeing like similar passing, 8 yards per attempt. He's running the ball well. He's only taken, I think, 5 sacks.
He's been safe throwing the ball for the most part.
Safe throwing the ball. Like he had the one turnover was the fumble, but like if I told you at the end of 4 games, Justin Fields would have 100 passer rating, you're like, this is unbelievable.
I know. The running is definitely helping that, but still.
Yeah, but you can't say, oh, that doesn't count. You got to count that,
No, absolutely. You count that, and that's why I've continuously said that the Jets need him to start over Tyrod Taylor, like for the offense to function. Because
one more change I want to get into because we got to go and get on to our next segment here. Justin's name that I'm still not a big fan of.
We'll talk about in a moment.
If I'm Aaron Glenn, I pull a Robert Saleh. Robert Saleh, I think in like week 6 or 7 or something like that of his first year, said, Jeff Ulbrich, I know you're my DC, but I need to take a bigger game plan responsibility off your plate. I think Aaron Glenn, I get him wanting to do the whole CEO coach thing. Like, I'll do leadership and stuff like that. But his decision to give Steve Wilks carte blanche over everything, defense-wise seemingly, I think that's probably been his biggest mistake so far.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm Aaron Glenn, who again, Aaron Glenn did not have this reputation like Saleh of like a master wizard defensive scheme guy. He was more like the culture setter guy. So I'm not expecting some sort of schematic innovation. But if I'm him, I can't just look at what Steve Wilks, because Steve Wilks has done, if we were to give like letter grades out, like maybe Glenn's like a C+ or something, Field is a B-. Steve Wilks is an F. He's an F right now. I thought he would be so much better than he is. And I think if the Jets are really bad this year, I think he's the guy that they get rid of, because you're not going to get rid of Glenn. I think Engstrom's been okay.
Yep.
So and I get this defense is not very talented, and the few talented guys they have are, Jermaine's injured, Quincy's injured, Sauce has been a quote unquote down year for him. Like, I get that he's not working with a ton, but the defense is why they've lost these games. In my opinion, they've gotten offensive play that they should have won the Steelers game with that level of offense. Tampa at the end, I know they had a miracle to get back into it, but they let Tampa drive down the field. Nobody even thought they were stopping them. And then Tua, they didn't even sack him once, and he looked way out of whack to start the year. So I think if I'm Aaron Glenn, I'm looking at Steve Wilks. I'm like, look, man, you got to pick this up. I'll help you, but this is priority number 1 is fixing the defense.
Yeah, well, the offense has an identity. The offensive identity is we are going to run the ball down your throat. We know we have a very talented offensive line. We know we have a very talented quarterback, or a dynamic athlete at the quarterback position, and we have a very good running back in Breece Hall. And we have a few, unfortunately, Braylon Allen is hurt, but we have a few good running backs that we like. It's very clear what the Jets' offensive blueprint is, and it has succeeded. It has worked. Breece Hall is averaging over 5.5 yards per carry, I think, in 3 of the 4 games that he's played. Like he's running
many Jets. The Bills was the only game he didn't really do
right,
anything.
But he's been an efficient runner. The offensive line has done well. The defense doesn't have an identity. And I think the identity is supposed to be press man. I think that's what they want it to be. They don't have the personnel for that. And yeah, some of that is this is the first year of this new regime. They couldn't bring in all of their guys, but they did bring in some of them. The biggest free agent signing that they made outside of Justin Fields was Brandon Stevens. And while I don't think Stevens has been terrible, like he's been better the last 2 weeks. He was awful to start the year. He's been better the last 2 weeks. I don't think that they have the cornerbacks to do that. They certainly don't have the nickel corner in Michael Carter. Maybe Jarvis Brownlee can be that guy, but I don't think they have the scheme or the players to run the scheme that Wilks wanted to run. And they had a chance to bring in some of these guys, like even the defensive players that they brought in. Some of them they've been hits, like the later summer additions. Harrison Phillips has been a hit. Juwan Briggs has been a hit. Tyler Barron's been a whiff. Kiko Mauigoa, I don't know what to expect from him, but I don't think he's done anything amazing so far. You drafted 2 DBs in the 3rd and 4th round, and neither of them are playing. You evaluated Tony Adams and said, this is a starting caliber safety for us, and we're going into the year with him as a starter, and he stinks. So I want to say some of it is they don't have enough personnel, they don't have enough talent, but it's also they had an offseason to make these adjustments. They had an offseason to have more than 2 NFL caliber defensive ends on their roster. They didn't do it. They tried with Barron. He stinks. They stuck with holdovers like Michael Clemens and Braden McGregor and Eric Watts. They stink too. So
Clemens is actually okay this week. I'll give him that.
Clemens, this was maybe his best game since his rookie year. Legitimately, like he actually had a really good game. Ran it against Larry Borum and Jonah Savanai or whatever the fuck. Who, by the way, you know what Big Jonah's PFF pass block rate is?
I'm gonna guess it's not very good if you're bringing it up.
It is 3.2.
3.2
through 4 weeks
for the year.
He has played every offensive snap for the Dolphins. It is a 3.2 on the season.
I've never seen it that low.
I was floored. I looked at this last night because I was
I
talking.
remember him being good at Arizona. What
I
happened?
was talking with a buddy of mine who was a Dolphins fan, and he was like, "Yeah, Jonah's been awful." And I'm like, "How bad has he been?" And I checked the numbers. And I'm
No
like,
way.
"Oh my
Surely
God."
not. Maybe Will McDonald run defense ain't so bad after all.
I think the next lowest among all like qualifiers was like 20 something. And I'm like 3.2. That the Dolphins are where offensive linemen go to die. Like, because I love Liam Eichenberg coming out of Notre Dame, and he's sucks. He's just terrible. So I don't know what's going on there. But
Milked 109 lib. Glenn can't coach defenses. D sucked in Detroit. The problem with Detroit is for the first couple of years, he just didn't have the talent. They had nobody for a while.
I thought, given the injuries that they had in his last year there, I thought he did an incredible job.
Weren't they like 5th in scoring last year?
They had a remarkable defensive effort given all the injuries that they had. They were throwing guys off the street at linebacker for most of the year. Like that
corner too.
Corner
Stanley
as well.
Thomas Oliver in a playoff game and
Aiden
stuff.
Hutchinson was hurt. Like that was as good of a defensive coaching job as you're going to see. Like I thought he did a really good job.
JJ, we had 0 quarterback hits against Miami. That's dreadful.
It is. Now, some of that was they were getting the ball out instantly, but again, teams have the rep on the rap on this Jets defense. They know they can't tackle in open space, so they're just getting the ball out quickly. Let's just throw the ball. Like we don't have to throw it 20 yards down the field. If we do, we can take a one-on-one shot, and maybe one of these corners will commit DPI.
Did Tua even do that?
No, I don't
think he did.
He didn't take any deep shots. There were a few like intermediate passes, but there were no deep shots to my knowledge. But a lot of it was just getting the ball out instantly and daring the Jets to try and tackle in space, or was running bootlegs. And the Jets DNs don't have the discipline or the athleticism to make a play in open space. There were a couple of times where Michael Clemens made a good play. Like he had a really good pass rush rep against the right tackle against Larry Borum, bulldozed the dude, but he wasn't athletic enough to bring down Tua. Like that's just, these DNs stink. And unfortunately, they don't have that's where I'm like, all right, that's not Wilkes' fault. They don't have the personnel at this point. Like they had an offseason to do that, but they don't have the personnel at this point. I'm not sure what you do at defensive end unless you're just rotating guys, bringing in tryout players.
Please don't play. We can't see Braden McGregor again.
Braden McGregor, I said this before the show we were talking. I said Braden McGregor is the worst player in 53, but then I remembered, or you reminded me, Isaiah Williams exists. But I think Braden McGregor is one of the worst
players. Fair catch at the two.
I think Braden McGregor is one of the worst players in any 53-man roster in the NFL. He is unplayable. Like he cannot be in an NFL roster.
Let's talk some stats, Justin.
Let's do some stats really quick. Let's get the bad one out of the way first. Let's get the negative, and this kind of relates to changes that the Jets could make. So let's bring in the GGSM, Mike, the gangrene stat machine. I know you hate the name, but
I despise it so much.
Because you hate it so much is why I have to say it every week. But the Jets have a Tony Adams problem, and this is not a problem that I don't think a lot of people didn't foresee coming. And it might be time to admit that Woody Johnson's right, because Tony Adams thinks. Tony Adams is bad. It's 48.4 PFF grade, second lowest amongst all Jets defensive starters. Michael Carter actually is a lower PFF grade, so that's fun. Adams is third worst amongst all qualified safeties at a 45.6 run defense grade. He has missed over 21% of his tackle attempts, a 53,
which is insane for a safety.
Yeah, as a safety, that is egregiously bad. That is, you cannot be on the field levels of bad.
1 in 5 he misses.
Yeah, it's time. It's time to make a change. It's been time to make that change. I think it's ridiculous that Adams came back from injury and played 100%. He played 100% of Jets defensive snaps against Miami. Malachi Moore played 2 snaps. Why? I don't know. Isaiah Oliver was on the field for about 75% of snaps. He was out there, I think, 70.
He made some plays.
Of snaps. Yeah, he got toasted as well.
Yes.
I don't think
as is Isaiah Oliver's trademark.
There is no reason that Malachi Moore should be getting significantly fewer snaps than Adams or Oliver. Like, this is an evaluation year. Oliver, I don't think Oliver is a significantly better player than Malachi Moore at this stage. And even if you want to argue he's slightly better based on what we've seen, what the hell good is that going to do for you? What good is it going to do for you to put Isaiah Oliver out there? And Tony Adams at this point, man, like, he just can't be on the field. Like he can't be out there. I not only should he not be starting, I'd rather be playing Moore, and I'd rather be playing Oliver over both of them over Tony Adams.
And oddly enough, too, as bad as Tony Adams is, Brandon Stevens,
yeah,
he's in this mood now where, like, the Jets fans have just decided that, like, he's the bad player, so every mistake he makes is going to get met. Which, fair, that contract is terrible.
It was a bad contract at the time. He had a really rough week 1 and a not good week 2. Like,
last 2 weeks, he's been one of their better players on either side of the ball.
Yeah, I thought this past week he was very, very good. 79.9 PFF grade, was the second best on the Jets behind only Quinnen. 84.3
As
coverage
Austrian
grade.
Jets fan with 5 more memberships.
Oh, what a guy!
What a
Austrian
guy!
Jets fan. Oh, and he changed the profile pic.
Yes, he
There
did.
you go. Shout out Austrian Jets fan. You are the man. Shout out all of Austria. Yeah. Shout out Vienna, Innsbruck, all those cities. Salzburg. Yep. Brandon Stevens, 84.3 coverage grade, which I thought this was interesting. Highest single game grade of his entire NFL career. I checked. He has never had a PFF coverage grade in the 80s in a single game in his NFL career. I thought that was kind of crazy. As a corner, that's never happened. That's kind of wild.
Especially when they got paid what he got paid.
Right. Like that's pretty wild. Allowed 1 catch for 2 yards on 2 targets, 7 tackles. I believe he led the Jets in run stops, 4 run stops. And that again is one of the bigger, not criticism, the bigger compliments that I can give him is that this Jets defense needs DBs who could tackle, and Brandon Stevens could do that. 14 tackles over the last 2 weeks, only 1 missed tackle. That is, I think, the biggest advantage you are getting from playing Brandon Stevens. He is still a very flawed player. I do not expect him to have 80+ coverage grades every single week. I do not expect him to allow 2 yards in coverage every single week. I think there will be penalties. I think he will get beat, but I do think that he is a very good tackler, and that is something that this Jets defense desperately needs.
Well, here's the thing as it pertains to Wilkes and Glenn too. If Sauce is Sauce of basically not this year, even last year, where he was apparently the worst corner ever, but allowed the fewest catches in all of football.
Sauce Gardner was still good last year. I don't want to hear that.
Oh yeah, he was still he should have been a Pro Bowler last year. The fact he wasn't in the top 100 is laughable.
It's hilarious.
If he's that level of Sauce and Stevens is approaching this, their scheme idea makes you can run that scheme with that level of quarterback.
If Brownlee is
if Brownlee's that good too, you can absolutely do cover 1 man and try to beat us.
Yep.
So I get maybe in a sense why they're so stubborn of it'll eventually regress back to the mean and we'll have a good. I get all that, and that's why I don't want to make maybe too many seismic changes here, but I need maybe this will be the game, even though there's no CeeDee Lamb. Mm-hmm. And they're probably going to put Sauce on Pickens for most of this game. If Stevens has a really good game against the Cowboys, who have maybe the most efficient passing offense in the league right now,
good luck.
Then I think that'll really change how I view him and how I view this defense as a whole.
Yeah, the personnel changes are Brownlee for Carter and Malachi Moore for Tony Adams. Like those are the personnel changes I think they need to make, and I don't see any really good justification for not making.
People were lopping Stevens in with Michael Clemens. I'm like, no, it's not. No way.
No. Let's get a couple
Quinnen Williams, though, on the other hand.
Yeah, let's get a couple of trenches stats here. Some more encouraging stats. I know the Jets are 0-4 right now, but a few of these stats that I picked out are very encouraging because while almost everybody on this Jets defense is underperforming right now, I think you could point to like 2 or 3 guys that are not underperforming. One of those players is Quinnen Williams, and I think it's
all the DTs. Those are the only ones.
Pretty much. It is going to fly under the radar how great Quinnen Williams is playing right now. Like he's even better than he was last year. I thought last year, for his standards, was a down year. He is having an unbelievable season. He is PFF's number 3 ranked interior defensive lineman, 88.2 PFF grade. His 92.3 PFF run defense grade. Actually, this is a typo in the tweet, but that should say 92.3 PFF run defense grade. That is 10 points higher than any other qualified interior defensive lineman. That's ridiculous.
And that's not even one of his selling points is the run defense. I mean, it's okay, but it was never, that's not why you picked Quinnen Williams.
15 run stops, 5 more than any other defensive tackle or any interior defensive lineman in the NFL. Also has 13 pressures, which is tied for 7th. I mean, this is an all-pro player. This is the best run defense season that he has ever had. It's not his best pass rush season, but if he's doing this as a run defender while also being a very good to great pass rusher, I mean, Jesus Christ, man. He is, I would say right now, a top 3 defensive tackle in football. And if you wanted to tell me he's slightly better than that, maybe. Like
Austrian Jets fan says Jet Press is dope. Yes, we are dope.
Austria is dope. But yeah, he is playing at such a high level right now, and it's getting overlooked because the rest of the Jets defense stinks, but he is having such a good season.
As Marcelo Cabrera says, who else aside from Quinnen is having an all-pro season with the Jets? Nobody is.
I mean, Garrett, I think, is having his best season. I don't know if it's all-pro. It's just so tough as a receiver to make all-pro.
I think eventually Sauce can get back on the horse and have a Pro Bowl year. I think Garrett can have a Pro Bowl year, and I think Quinnen will have a Pro Bowl year. That's it.
Well, I think there might be one other player that I want to throw in that conversation.
Oh, really?
Let's talk about Armand Membu, because Armand Membu is also having a fantastic season, an amazing start to his rookie year. 80.3 PFF run block grade in week 4 was 15 points higher than any other player on this Jets roster. He is top 5 among qualified offensive tackles in run block grade with a 79 on the season. Also has not been penalized once. I believe he has like a 68 or 69 pass block grade too.
You'll take that easily.
Absolutely more than held up in pass pro, and he has been one of the best run blocking offensive tackles in the NFL. He's not going to get offensive rookie of the year buzz because offensive linemen just can't win that award. But I've seen a couple of people mention, I believe it was Seth Walder on Twitter threw it out there. Mitchell Schwartz was saying Membu's already got more pancake blocks through 3 games or 3.5 games than he had in his entire career. And that's an all-pro tackle saying that, obviously exaggerating. But what Membu has done through the first 4 weeks of the season has exceeded even my wildest of expectations. I think we both kind of thought it would be a little bit of a work in progress with him, and we thought Fashanu would be that guy, which, by the way, Fashanu had a great game in week 4 too. But it's been Membu. Membu has been maybe this team's best offensive lineman through 4 weeks. It looks like they hit a home run with that pick.
This offensive line is still very good without Elijah Vera Tucker.
Yeah.
As JJ said, Membu has been great.
Absolutely.
A better run blocker than a pass blocker, which surprised me a little bit. I thought it would be the other way around looking at his Missouri film. But it's always funny to me because, fans are all doom and gloom right now. I've seen so many, you trust this regime to get a quarterback right tweets after a month. Mm. And yeah, we've taken Darren Muji to task about missing on Tyler Barron, reaching on Arian Smith a little bit. But GMs, you have to hit on late round picks, but if you look at the first 2 picks for a new GM, you get Armand Membu and Mason Taylor, who look like 2 long-term starters. And then Azareye'h Thomas, we don't know yet, but I think he could be.
Yeah. You have two players that already look like absolute
2 players look like they're going to be Jets for a very long time. Hopefully. And play well. And especially Membu. I mean, Pro Football Focus just put this out today. He's one of the top 10 rookies in the league across both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
This year in terms of their grading. So a guy who, and I will say too, I don't want to necessarily go at the Patriots fan because Will Campbell has also been pretty good too, but Membu has been the best rookie right tackle I've seen in a couple of years as a rookie.
Yeah.
Starting off right now.
Is it since Penei Sewell?
Yeah. He's not playing
obviously
as well as
Sewell
did.
No, he's not Penei Sewell. But I'm saying since him, is he the best rookie right tackle we've seen since him? Maybe.
Possibly, yeah. He's up there. And that's what you want from a number 7 overall pick. He's been everything they thought he would be and then some.
He has been outstanding.
Now then, the Jets.
Is it time?
Much to our chagrin, have a game to play this week. And they play the Dallas Cowboys, who are 1-2-1, but you've seen some of these games, folks. They do not look like a 1-2-1 team with some of the knockdown, drag-out fights that they've had against some teams. And we're going to bring in the world's foremost Dallas Cowboys expert. He covers the Landry hat for Fansided. My good buddy, Jerry Trotta. Jerry, how are you doing?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
Well, our team's 0-4. So Jerry's team has 1 win and traded Micah Parsons, and they are in a much better place. So think about that for a second.
There you go.
What I want to start with first is, I'm sure Jerry is sick of hearing this, but all you heard about after Jerry Jones traded Micah Parsons was you got to stop the run, which is why they got Kenny Clark. I've heard him say that about 100 times. And Kenny Clark, from what I've seen, has been pretty good, I would say, on a terrible Cowboys defense. Mm-hmm. This Jets team is built on running the ball. Do you think they're going to be able to do it against this defense?
I think they'll find, reasonable success. Kenny Clark has been awesome, by the way. I think he's top 15 among all defensive linemen, including edge defenders in pressure rate. And he's had a great impact against the run as well. But, Fields' dual threat ability scares me. In week 1, the Cowboys really struggled to contain Hurts. Eberflus just refused to put a spy on Hurts. So that definitely scares me if Fields can get his legs going. And obviously Breece Hall. I know Braylon Allen's out, but Isaiah Davis is a nice complimentary back. I think they'll be able to run the ball, reasonably well. It's just their passing game that scares me because Dallas's defense played fine in week 1. We've learned that was a mirage because Philly wouldn't push the ball downfield. And I'm interested to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean that last game, dude, that 40-40 game. You were up late covering that too, right? How'd that feel? How'd it feel covering
that was fun. It was fun, but so unsatisfying. I feel like it was a great result for Dallas in the end, but they won that game two separate times at least in the fourth quarter. And I mean, I guess overtime you probably have to kick the field goal instead of trying to get a touchdown. But yeah, it was a super fun game. One of the most craziest games I've seen as a Cowboys fan.
Yeah, and I like the Jets just played the Dolphins, and we were talking about this earlier. Miami has maybe the worst cornerback room that I've ever seen a team enter a season with. Ethan Bonner was hurt. They had Jack Jones, Rasul Douglas out there. It was brutal. But this Dallas secondary, man, it's tough. Like it has not been good. I am curious how concerned you are, even watching this Jets passing game, which has very much struggled this year. How concerned are you about them holding up? Like, how do you think they're going to be able to manage against like a Garrett Wilson? Like, do you think they'll be able to limit him? And is that a responsibility more for like Trayvon Diggs, or how are you thinking about that?
Garrett Wilson concerns me. As we saw on Monday night, he should have had like that touchdown that got called back was insane, and then the second one was equally impressive. I think if I had to pick, I think they put Deron Bland on Wilson. Diggs is still – they actually benched Diggs last week. He didn't start, which is kind of – I think it might be related to his health a little bit. He's still kind of coming back from offseason knee surgery. He's clearly not 100% yet. But, if I were the Jets, I would try to move Wilson around, try to get him, matched up with Kyer Elam, who just shouldn't be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And the Cowboys still traded for him this offseason. But yeah, Garrett Wilson really scares me. If Fields is, if they protect Fields and he's looks beyond like 5-10 yards past the line of scrimmage, I think Wilson should have his way because they haven't been able to acclimate to Eberflus's defense yet.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at Eberflus, and this is kind of a similar situation that the Jets are in, where Eberflus wants to run a scheme. They may not have the personnel to run the scheme, but also the scheme might suck a little bit. Eberflus has never blitzed, going back to when he was with the Colts and when he's with the Bears. Never blitzes. I think he's had like 96% zone coverage or something crazy like that. It is very static in terms of how they run the defense. Is he doing that just because he just doesn't have the personnel? Now he had it, Micah Parsons. They got rid of him, as we now know. Is he really doing this because he doesn't have great defensive personnel, or is he just kind of outdated as a coordinator?
I think it's a little bit of both. I don't think Dallas has the personnel to play man. I think Deron Bland is honestly the only cornerback suited to play that. And, it's interesting. Donovan Wilson, like Eberflus has asked him to be like Dallas's last line of defense, and which is just driving Cowboys fans mad because Wilson is better as a box linebacker, getting downhill, rushing the passer, chasing ball carriers. And, Wanye Thomas subbed in for him last week.
Azarieh's brother.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Yes, and he's playing really well. So I actually have a little more confidence in Dallas on the back end. But just going back to Eberflus, I think it's a mixture of, him being a little outdated, stubborn, and just not having, the horses to even like just change up his scheme.
Yeah, obviously the loss of CeeDee Lamb, it's a big absence in this game. And I think if CeeDee was playing, I'd be even more concerned about this Jets secondary holding up. But as we saw last week against Green Bay, George Pickens really stepped into that role as that wide receiver one. I know there was kind of talk, throughout the summer about Pickens and Dak maybe, I don't say not being on the same page, but kind of, taking time to establish that chemistry. Are you feeling more confident in that, especially after what we just saw in Green Bay, like that this receiving core can hold up without CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Tolbert stepping in as well, taking on a bigger role? Obviously, they got Cavante Turpin there. Jake Ferguson is having a really good season. He's my fantasy tight end, so I've been very happy with his performance.
I've been stuck with Harold Fannin the entire year because Evan Engram's done nothing.
Oh, I was going to say, Fannin was the guy you went into the year with?
Evan Engram's had like 4 catches the entire year, so I had to pick Fannin off of waivers, and that's my guy.
Yeah, it's tough. Last year I had Chig Okonkwo, so I feel you. But yeah, how confident are you, I guess, in this Cowboys receiving core holding up without CeeDee? Especially, I mean, you have Dak playing at such a high level too. Like, from my perspective, I feel like they still got it. They have more than enough to be able to survive without CeeDee. But what is the sentiment amongst Cowboys fans?
Yeah, I think Cowboys fans kind of psyched themselves out when CeeDee Lamb got hurt. Obviously, he's just like a top 5 receiver at worst, and I don't think they really considered that Pickens has operated as a wide receiver 1 before.
Yeah.
Obviously, I wouldn't put him like anywhere near their top 10, but he's supremely talented, and right now he has his head on straight. He's in a contract year, and he's developed a really close relationship with CeeDee Lamb. I credit Brian Schottenheimer for kind of taking a hands-on approach with really just getting him to buy in, and we're kind of seeing the results right now. And I think he's a perfect fit with Dak, who loves to push the ball downfield into tight windows. Pickens isn't a receiver who's going to create separation, but with his catch radius and just ability to, go up and over defenders and come down with the ball is really just elite, in my opinion. But as far as the rest of the room is concerned, Kevontae Turpin might actually miss Sunday's game. News kind of broke before I popped on here. He has a foot injury, which is odd because I think he played almost every snap against the Packers, so he must have got hurt somewhere along the way, which would be a big loss. Schottenheimer likes to set Turpin in motion, kind of get a read on what the opposing defenses are showing, and he's been a reliable outlet. He's not obviously more of a return specialist than a receiver, but that's a sneaky big loss for Dallas, and it pushes Jalen Tolbert into a bigger role. They just opened Jonathan Mingo's 21-day practice window. He was just on IR, so I guess look out for Jonathan Mingo on Sunday.
Whoa, no, not that.
Hard.
Anything but that.
But yeah, Turpin's a big loss, so that would leave Pickens, Tolbert. We might see more of Ryan Flournoy, who's come up with a couple of big catches this season. But again, Dak is. I think he's playing like a top 5 quarterback right now. I think that's hard to deny based on the stats. So as long as he's under center and healthy, I trust him to beat any defense right now. Looking at last week's matchup, I was scared going into it. Green Bay has just feasted. Even they made Jared Goff look pretty average in week 1, and Dak's so good against pressure that it really didn't matter. He picked them apart. So yeah, I'm confident. Just mostly because of Dak Prescott and the growing chemistry he has with George Pickens.
Who's the funny thing about Jalen Tolbert is he's wide receiver 2 with a bullet on this Jets team.
Oh, easily
depressing.
Is Tolbert also the backup returner? Like who's returning if Turpin's out?
It is Tolbert, which is weird because he looks like he's running in quicksand half the time. He just has no explosion.
Hey, the Jets put Braylon Allen back there, and that worked out great. So
I know.
That's so unfortunate.
So you brought up a name there, Brian Schottenheimer. To say Jets fans have mixed opinions on Brian Schottenheimer, to say the least, because he was on those teams that were so good so many years ago. The last time they were ever good, he was their offensive coordinator, and then he blew all of that goodwill because he was overly conservative. It was run, pass. He could not devise a creative passing game to save his life. And then, as has been proven, as all his other stops. I remember he's in Seattle for a while. I think he was with the Rams, Indy. Like everywhere he went, passing games just died. It was just instant death. And now, obviously, the running game is his forte. And I mean, Javonte Williams looks reborn.
Yeah.
Apparently, Clayton Adams has the secret sauce for him right now. But looking at Schottenheimer, a hire that was, I remember when they hired him, I'm like, no, they didn't. And then I remember they did it at 9:30 on a Friday. I'm like, okay, good news dump here to get that out of the way.
Very excited about it based on that time.
Through 4 games, how do you think Schottenheimer's done? Even though he's only got the 1 win, I think he's looked better than I thought he would.
Yeah, I think Schottenheimer has coached his ass off. To be honest, I think this team should have. I think it could be 3-1. Obviously, that playing that game is always tricky, but he's definitely learned from his. I don't know if mistakes is the right word, but he's definitely adapted.
Oh yeah, mistakes. We saw there were mistakes.
Yeah, that's fair. I think he's definitely adapted to the modern NFL, and I think maybe learning under McCarthy, seeing what McCarthy didn't really do. He was really running a basic, outdated offense, and Schottenheimer promised a lot of motion, a lot of multiplicity, a lot of pre-snap movement, and when he was hired, and it's really come to pass, and I was warmer to the hire than most, just because of his familiarity with the roster, and he's so good behind the mic that it's hard not to buy in. and he's putting everything he said into practice right now, and it's really been awesome to see.
Well, we got a coach that's good behind the mic, but the wins aren't coming yet, so that's the difference.
We'll see. You brought up Javonte Williams, and he's definitely, I think he's performed a lot better than a lot of people were expecting. I think people looked at that Dallas running back room going into 2025 and said this might be the worst running back room in football. And I don't think it's amazing by any means. Yeah, I think a lot of people were saying I don't think it's amazing by any means, but I think it's been respectable. I think a lot of people have been surprised that Jaden Blue has not been able to get onto the field. I know Miles Sanders is banged up now. There's talk Blue might make his debut. What has been the reason for that? Like, what's been the hesitancy of the coaching staff? Is this like a situation where they don't trust him on passing downs or ball security? Or, what has been the reason? And then if Sanders misses time, how much do you expect Blue to actually play this week?
Yeah, that's been such a sensitive topic for Cowboys fans because, all of the hype throughout the summer was, Jaden Blue and his impact on the offense. And, Brian Schottenheimer's been and the coaching staff they haven't really revealed too much about it, but, he keeps using the term, we want to see more consistency, with Jaden Blue and Mozzie Smith. And,
I heard that about Malachi Corley a lot. I'm just going to say that.
I think I've heard that about Jonathan Mingo too.
Oh boy. But yeah, I think it goes back to like maybe the nuances of the position. Like you said, maybe they don't trust him like on passing downs to, protect Dak Prescott. Maybe it's, not knowing where to be on a specific, what it could be a passing down too, like not being in the right spot for a check down for Dak Prescott. Like those little details are so important. And, they trust Javonte Williams, obviously, and even Miles Sanders, despite, his lack of efficiency running right now to, just really execute the fundamentals. I think that's really what it is with Blue because his talent is undeniable. And, I'm seeing that Sanders it should be good to go on Sunday. Okay. That hasn't been confirmed yet, but I think Blue will probably make his debut sometime in the next 2 weeks if it's not this Sunday.
You talk about running in quicksand. I feel like Miles Sanders has looked like he's running in quicksand for the last 3 years, at least. It's kind of amazing he's still getting snaps.
Amazing when you're not with the Eagles' offensive line. You don't run for 1,000 yards.
Right.
I wonder if somebody should do an experiment on that. Before we get to predictions, I know that he hates getting asked these questions because we'll be in work channels anytime this guy's name gets brought up. It's I'm sorry. But after that Packers game, Micah Parsons is traded. He comes back as a Packer, 9 pressures and a sack at the end. So wasn't dominating, it looked like, but he was getting home. What are Cowboys fans kind of feeling, especially after that? Looked like he came back and you saw him as a Packer and now he's gone. Like, obviously that trade was ill-conceived, even as good as Kenny Clark has been. You need a lot of Kenny Clarks to get one Micah Parsons. What's the general vibe in the Cowboys fan base whenever you hear the name Micah Parsons?
Mostly nausea.
Oh God.
It still doesn't feel real seeing him in Packers colors. He should still have a start.
Of all the teams,
I know. What a tough few months for Dallas fans, man. Luka and then Micah. Oh my goodness.
Unprecedented would be an understatement, I think. But it stinks. He's a top, 10, maybe 5 player in the world, regardless of position. I don't have to like rattle through, how good Micah Parsons is. But yeah, Cowboys fans they're devastated still. And, the pass rush, I think the front office completely misevaluated their edge room behind him. Sam Williams has been dreadful. I wouldn't be surprised to see James Houston start over him this week. Schottenheimer, another tip of the cap. Schottenheimer hasn't been, stubborn. He's been holding players accountable. He benched Trevon Diggs. Mozzie Smith, despite being a first-round pick, has been inactive. And, Davian Clowney is, I think their best edge by, I think pretty comfortably right now. So yeah, and it's tough because, we're getting arguably the best season of Dak Prescott's career and you can't afford to waste that. And, this defense the Cowboys could compete at I think into January if they had a, somewhat respectable defense, and Parsons obviously makes you, even despite all of their flaws in the secondary, a respectable defense because of his ability to wreck a game. And, that's what they're missing right now. And that's what's so frustrating.
Oh, we got 2 comments from Brian Sternbeck before we go into predictions. Sam Williams gets pressures. He just grabs the face mask when he does. Then Jerry keeps piling on the trolling, meaning Jerry Jones. Jerry can back this up. I remember watching the press conference, and again, Jerry's seen dozens of these Jerry Jones press conferences. I was a newbie. I'm watching it after the Micah trade, and the level of word salad and rambling, like he could talk for 20 seconds and he's off on a different point. I'm like, I would lose my mind if I had to hear this over and over again. Imagine if that was your GM. We complain about Darren Muji. Jeez.
Yeah, it's disastrous. One more for Brian before we get to predictions. The trivia question. Our resident statistician, he asked, who's the last QB to start multiple games with the Jets against the Cowboys? That's a tough one because they had to have that. This requires them having started realistically like 6 or 7 years.
So Sanchez couldn't be it.
I don't think it's Sanchez. Obviously, Darnold had the one, but I don't think
Chad Pennington.
I was thinking Pennington was going to be my guess. If it's not Pennington, I mean, it's possible it goes back to like
Namath or Richard.
It's possible it goes back to like Ken O'Brien or Richard Todd. It's actually possible because I don't think Vinny did it, obviously, and no one else in the 90s is doing that.
While we wait for the answer for that, predictions. I am currently 4-0 in my predictions of betting against the Jets every week. Justin is 3-1 after foolishly thinking they can beat the Dolphins.
I got too excited. That's my fault. And I said at the time, I was like, they're going to let me down, but I was hoping they'd prove me wrong, man. They didn't. So, I'll start and I'll say they're going to lose. Like, I've learned my lesson. I'm not picking this team to win. Score-wise, we could say I think the Jets are able to move the ball. I just have zero faith that this defense is going to be able to do anything against Dak Prescott. I know CeeDee Lamb is out, but I think they're going to be able to make mincemeat of this secondary.
Sauce on Pickens will be something that I think. Sauce always does good against the bigger contested, like Metcalf. He shut down this year.
Look, it's been a rough couple weeks for Sauce. Like he needs to bounce back. I've been more critical of him, as you know, Mike, than I have been in the past. I think he needs to bounce back. He needs a big game against Pickens here, and I hope he could do that. I'm less confident about the rest of the secondary holding up. And I don't know who's going to be on Jake Ferguson, but whoever it is going to let up 10 checkdowns, 10 checkdowns for 100 yards is what he's going to get. So I'll say Cowboys 34, Jets 21. That's what I'll say.
See, I'm going to go closer at least. I was going to say Cowboys 34, Jets 31.
Okay.
I don't like, outside of Donovan Ezeraku, I don't like this Cowboys pass rush.
I'll say just 24. I'll say Nick Folk as a field goal.
Fair. I don't, Ezeraku I like, but outside of that, and Nealon looks okay, Marshawn Nealon, but outside of that, this defensive line is very underwhelming. If only they had Micah Parsons, who knows? Who knows what that would look like? It's impossible to say. But this second, I do find it hard to believe that Tanner Engstrand, coming from that Lions tree, is going to see the two worst secondaries in the league back-to-back and stink it up against both of them.
He already stunk it up against one. I mean, he didn't stink it up against one, but the quarterback play was bad, and they also had 3 fumbles.
And I think Fields got into a groove second half against Miami. I think that the run was amazing. I think he's going to be able to run the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
I think Wilson's going to be in for a pretty good day. I think if there was ever a day that Arian Smith breaks out, I think this might be it, but I just don't know if they can slow down that, not necessarily Pickens and Javonte, but like the stats don't do it justice. Justin Fields has a higher passer rating than Dak right now. Dak Prescott is playing at a level.
He's been so good
that the consensus top 4 seem to be, Mahomes, Lamar, Allen, Burrow, in whatever order. And then Herbert's usually 5. Like Dak is 6 and he might be 5 this year. It's that level of efficient, and he's going downfield. He's making plays. The offensive line, I don't think, is very good for Dallas outside of Tyler Smith, and Cooper Beebe's hurt. Tyler Booker's hurt. So I think that'll help. But if Dak wasn't playing at like an not all-time level, but like a top 5 crazy good level, I think the Jets might get an upset in. But if he's playing like this, I find it hard to believe that in a shootout, Fields will beat him.
By the way, we got our trivia answer.
It
is indeed Joe Namath.
Wow.
It is indeed Joe Namath, the last Jets quarterback to start multiple games against Cowboys. That is egregious. That is terrible.
If the answer is Jets quarterback, most things are going to be Namath.
Well, except if it's, hey, who's the most recent Jets QB to do blank? And it's like,
well, I mean, it wouldn't be Sanchez, I guess, if it's anytime somebody asks who's the most recent, it's like 50 years ago. So,
or if it's anything with playoffs, it's Sanchez.
Yeah, playoffs, it's Sanchez. Regular season, it's Namath, which God, this team.
Yeah, they're bad.
Jerry, what are your thoughts? Who's winning this?
I think I'm in lockstep with the both of you. I'm going to go with a 31-21 Cowboys win.
Okay.
For most of the reasons you listed above, I'm not going to bet against Dak Prescott right now. And Schottenheimer called a great game last week without CeeDee Lamb. The offense didn't skip a beat.
Against the Packers defense that came in, they're like, man, is this the best team in the league? This is a world beater. They hung 40 on them.
Yeah.
My thoughts exactly. And, Prescott is thriving right now, unpressured. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks when, teams unleash the blitz. So, do that at your own risk, Steve Wilkes. But yeah, I think I don't feel great about a lot of Cowboys matchups this season. The schedule is difficult, especially on the back end. But yeah, this one, I would be devastated if the Cowboys don't come out of MetLife Stadium with the win on Sunday.
That's where we're at, Jets fans. Teams are devastated if they lose to us.
That would be a real tough loss for Dallas. Like, given that they've played so hard against Philly and Green Bay and didn't come away with a win in either game, losing to the Jets would be devastating. That would be brutal.
Losing to a team with Josh Reynolds as their number 2 wide receiver.
Yeah.
Would be.
Yeah.
Would Jonathan Mingo be wide receiver too?
No, let's not get carried away. Let's not go.
Justin,
no,
you've seen what we've seen.
Ryan Flanoy might be, but I Jonathan Mingo, I can't get behind that. I can't. I'm sorry. I think
about how far down you got to go the list before you get to a guy who's not wide receiver too.
I think you can make a
As
case.
Brian Sternbeck says, 30-28 Cowboys. Nick Folk revenge game goes wide right at the end. That would kill me.
That would kill me.
That would kill me.
Because he's been perfect this year. He's been so good. He just hit a 58-yarder.
Fat Nick Folk has been perfect.
I know, it's the extra oomph. He
has a gut hanging over his belt now. I'm like, what is? God, kickers are great.
It's working for him, man. He kicked a 58-yarder, career long at 40 years, pushing 41. He's gonna be 41 in a couple.
That center of gravity, it helps. Jerry, thank you as always for coming on. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find all your stuff about Jerry Jones and what used to be Micah Parsons' team?
Yeah. Check us out at thelandryhat.com. Got plenty of Cowboys coverage. Every day, just following the team. Jerry Jones makes it interesting to say the least. But yeah, it's so much fun. And thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to Sunday. Should be interesting.
Yeah, you're looking more forward than we are, but that's okay. Yeah, I don't know how much I'm looking forward to it, Mike.
I will say this though. I think there's a path to victory.
There is
a path to victory.
Realistically, if the Jets don't fumble the ball 3 times, if they don't lose the turnover battle by like 3, they have a chance to win this game.
Wow, what a bold statement there.
But they've done that like 3 of the 4 weeks. Like, they've gotten killed in the turnover battle. They keep finding new ways to shoot themselves in the head, as Breece Hall has said. So we'll see. Hopefully they can find a way to not do that.
Ideally, you only shoot yourself in the head once. So
it's kind of hard to do that twice.
maybe, yeah. Maybe they got it out of their system in this one. So thank you for tuning into the Jet Press podcast on a very morbid ending to the show. You know where to find us on all the podcast platforms: Apple, Google, Spotify, Overcast, wherever you get them. And on YouTube, you can subscribe. You could like the stream. Both of those things really do help. Justin.
Yep.
Is there any chance that we're not 0-5?
Yeah, there's a chance. I'm not going to predict it. I've learned my lesson, but I think a morbid ending is what this team deserves right now until proven otherwise. But we'll see. Maybe we'll be back here on Sunday talking about a Jets win. I'm not counting on it, but it would be fun. Until then, thank you all for joining us on the show today. You can follow Mike on Twitter at @ByMikeJohn. Follow me on Twitter, Justin D. Fried. Follow the Jet Press at the Jet Press. Download the Jet Press podcast for your podcast. Check us out on YouTube and TikTok. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also become a member today. It is 99 cents. It is a great way to help support the show and get your comments prioritized in chat. Thank you again to Austrian Jets fan who donated more memberships earlier today. We stream live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time and live immediately following every single Jets game. I've been trying to race through this as quick as I can. I think that was the quickest that I've gotten through this. I've been doing this for a couple of years now. I feel like
what do you want, a cookie?
I'm like every week I'm like, how can I say this quicker than I did the last week? Anyway, thank you all for listening to Jet Press Podcast. I've been Justin Fried. That is Mike Luciano. See you guys next time.
Hopefully we're talking about Aaron Glenn's first win because that'll be worth it when he gets that first win, but they'll need to go through Dak Prescott to get it.